Well, I'm back on the railroad today, and we are going to complete what we said we were going to do the other day. Now, I learned how to stabilize the video that I already shot. It's in the editing program, so I'm going to use that video, make it better. The other problem was battery issues, so today I've got with me the Dorsey light, which will keep my phone charged, and we'll be able to finish that. We'll measure all the spurs and leads. We'll measure the turnouts, which is by measuring the switch point to the frog, so you guys can tell what turnout they are. I gotta say, I'm doing this because I told you I would, which brings out a good point. You subscribers, ETR Nation, and really YouTube in general has been very good for me on this project because I feel accountable to you, and when I give you my word on something, I really try and follow through. So I think this project has moved along better and is going to be more successful because of your encouragement and because of the fact that you make me want to be a better man. You make me want to fulfill what I said, do it the way I said I was going to do it, and be transparent. So speaking of being transparent, one of the guys asked about having a business meeting and talking about some of the factors that he's interested in. And that resonates with me because one of my favorite shows, Gold Rush, I started losing interest in it because they never talked about money. So today we're going to talk about money. How can Gold Rush go all season and just put gold in jars and leave it there till the end of the year? Well, don't they spend money on fuel and wages? It's a little disingenuous, to use a big word. How could you store all that gold, which I really don't think is probably real gold? Well, tell me what you spend on fuel. Tell me if you lost money that week. So that's what we're going to do. For our first year and a half of operations, on our income statement, there is a big zero on income from railroad operations. So we've not sold scrap, didn't sell any firewood, didn't have any income. But that's okay because I planned on that. I'm patient like a python. I'll just keep squeezing and squeezing until the victory's been won. And a python isn't fast, but once it gets a hold of a project, there's not much that can stop it. So that's kind of the business model here: patience and continual effort toward that goal. We do have income, and I'm so thankful, from YouTube and you guys buying t-shirts and coffee cups. YouTube income is an interesting thing. If you get somebody up in, like, I think Whistling Diesel category, millions of views, there's good money in it. The category we're in, income's about $600 a month, $700. It goes up and down. It's like a stationary bicycle tied to a light bulb. The faster you pedal, the more the light bulb lights up. So this income goes up and down. That's what we use to pay the property tax, and that's what we use to buy supplies and such. So you might ask, why does he use hand tools when there's such a better tool for the job? It's to save money. It's using what we have. Now, when we go to cut down the big trees that are too close to the rail, I'm kind of nodding my head because I'm looking down there. That's when we'll have to bring in some big gas-powered saws. That's when we'll bring in big equipment. Would one of you guys volunteer? Can I see a hand? Call Sunbelt and ask them about the rental on a chipper. And we really need it to be able to chip up to 4-inch, 6-inch diameter. When they quote you the price, I think it's like $250 a day, and they don't always mean a 24-hour day. They mean 8 hours on the hour meter. You got to have a crew. You got to be ready. You got to be able to get the trees to the chipper. I mean, you just can't rent a chipper and have it here for a week and use it 2 hours a day. That's got to be a well thought out plan. So many of you have talked about a chipper. Let's go on to income. One of you brought up renting, making space available for a cell tower. That's a good idea. And I looked into it. There's a cell tower close enough to us that it disqualifies us from being a site. So thank you, good idea. I looked into it. I don't think that'll work. Car storage is the next income opportunity, and to do that you need to know how many feet you have. So that's what we're doing here today. We now know the total amount of feet. We're going to use 65 feet as an average car length. So divide 65 feet into what we end up saying is what we could use for car storage, and then you'll know what the potential amount of cars. There is several categories of car storage. You can have hazmat loaded, that pays the most, has the most requirements, and is really an interesting category that I don't think we'll ever be in. You need to have fences, you need to have security, you need to have it lit, you can't be within X amount of feet of other people or structures. I haven't looked a lot into it because I just don't think that's where we're going to be. You can have hazmat cars that are empty, less stringent, little less pay. You can have forward storage, which for example is plastic pellets that are stored very near the plant, so that if there's a rail outage or another problem, they still have product close by. So that's called forward storage. That pays better than non-hazardous cars that are empty. That is the lowest paying, and generally is in the $2 to $3 a day range. So you could calculate our income per month by how many feet we have, 65-foot car, $2 or $3 a day. Now within that category, we would really need to be in the last in, first out for cars. So if we had this whole Death Valley to South Point full of cars, and they said they wanted ACF 451208, and it's the last car, we have a lot of digging out to do. Now there's a fee for that, an agreed upon ahead of time fee, but there's also, let's say you're storing grain cars that aren't needed during grain hauling season, and then when season starts up, they said, hey, pull the first 10 and send them to us. Gladly, the first 10, but not every other car. It's the first 10. While cars are here, there's also potential income from repairing stencils, re-stenciling, changing brake shoes, doing things that prepare the car to go back out, inspect them and repair them, and that's a possible source of income. So that'll kind of end the business meeting. Appreciate your interest. Thank you for encouraging me to be transparent and to include you all. You're in this. You're such a big part of it. So encouraging, and you do hold me accountable. You make me want to be a better man. So let's get out on the tracks, finish what we said we'd do, which is measuring everything. You should have a complete map. Get your map out from the other day. Let's fill it in. I'll start when we're out there. Thank you. White-tailed deer. There's 3 of them down there. One is standing, see them? Coming across the tracks by the switch tie and relay ties. 3 of them. Ooh, there's a 4th one. Those are called white-tailed deer. Yeah. This is a nature show now. Look at them. They're running to check out that loaded plastics car. I was slip sliding, well, so were the deer, even with pointy hooves. So now we're headed into a place where many of you know really well. This is Death Valley. This is where, right up here, the rail drops by about 2.5 inches, 3.5 inches maybe, over a length or 3 of rail. And we'll need to do something about that. That area just was flooded over and over the years. And who knows, the ballast in there might be incredibly dirty. We talked about how to take care of that. This right up here. So this is Death Valley. Label this Death Valley. Right there is where we were doing some surveying and marking. Label this Death Valley. You can label that as the Moon Crater. That's where we pulled that tree out and decided that was not the way to do that anymore. This is the tie yard. Some switch ties, some relay ties, ready for spring to come back. Okay, Death Valley. You can mark that over about 150 feet. Hey, there's some lamb's ear. Graham was rubbing that on his cheek once in a video. Here's the blue drain tile. It's actually plastic. that we thought would help drain this, but we didn't understand that up there under those cars is the like 4-foot diameter drain pipe that drains this whole area. I didn't even know it was there. Here is the J lead. I believe that's called a guardrail. This is the frog. J lead went right through there, right through that stack of ties. When we come back, we will go up through there, but we're coming up on the switch point for the J lead. Now, to put the J lead back in service, we simply bolt to here, rail, and we run it through that guardrail and then pick up right back there. I'm super thankful when they tore that out. I wish they hadn't taken it out, but when they took it out, they did not tear up the guardrail, the frog. They didn't take the switch out. So let me get you this dimension. J lead, switch point, distance 1969, 1969. Okay, we're gonna hop over. Okay, you guys remember what this is? This is the switch point. Is exactly 2,054 feet from the far end of the south branch. 2,054 feet. And we're looking down through there. What you can see from here is the 700 lead and the J lead. And for clarity, let me say it again, make sure I said it right. The lead, 2,055 feet from South Point. Let's call that way far end down there, South Point. Okay, by the way, while we're here, this is where the Welland Canal drains under the railroad tracks. There were so many trees in here, we didn't even know that this was here. This is what we used the big ditching machine on. Look how well it's flowing. Does need some clean out again, but that's where it goes under the rail. Okay, now we are rolling along some loaded plastic cars. Do you know how you tell when a car is loaded? A simple look at the springs will tell you. And maybe that's still sealed. That tells you that that car has not been opened. The product's not been taken out. These are piles I gathered one day. And I'm going to lose about 4 feet right here hopping over. Springs depressed. It's a loaded car. Brakes are set. In a mutually cordial agreement with G&W, these cars were stored here, and they took one of them. So we're back up on the curve. More deer tracks. Right up there. Oh, squirrel. No, I don't mean a rail fan. I meant a real squirrel. Right up there is where we talked about Abraham Lincoln. That kind of blows my mind. It's kind of humbling to think about a freedom-loving president being this close to a railroad that many, many years later enjoys freedom and looks for the freedom to build a business. So we are now up to where this line goes east and west. Just about done going north. So we're starting to go east and west. See, that's a good example of a guardrail. What that does, that keeps the wheel set, which is 2 wheels on an axle, from going too far that way. See what I'm saying? The side of the wheel, the flange is still in here, but it keeps the wheel from going too far that way, because over here the flange can pick the switch. Now if this switch were closed, what you don't want the flange getting in between here and here. That's what picks a switch. That's what happened to the beer cars, that derailment that we went on. Okay, that was the last switch point. We are going to go just a little bit further, and this will be the most northerly point where we own or have trackage rights. And I think I laid these logs out one time. I think it's, well, let's look at that. We're at 69. 2669. Sorry, 2669. So this point is yet to be established by surveying, but so this is day 2. We're all the way up the north. So what we're going to establish on the way back, all the way to the south point, is the length of the leads. And I believe we started this the other day. So what we'll do is just define what these are and go over their lengths. So this is plastic north lead. This is 1,403 feet. This is plastic south lead, which is 403 feet. So the difference is we just added 1,000 feet to the distance beyond the building, beyond the door that goes into the building. So are you looking at ETR property? Yes, but the building is not on our property, but approximately a car length away from the building or so is our property. That's the east-west portion. Okay, now we're going to go back down to the 700 lead and start our measurements there. So here we are on day 2, starting out on the 700 lead. We've got the wheel set to 0-0, and I will probably try some running up on the rail. Got to be really careful today. This is slippery. In Death Valley, where there's still some water, it was frozen like a skating rink. So 700 lead up to the Frog Point is 67 feet. So that should be able to give you an idea of the turnout. 67 feet. Now as we go by here, we'll take another look at the J lead where it came off. We'll get that measurement on the way back. Of course, the J lead has no length anymore, but I can maybe try and get you the turnout dimension. So as we go around this corner here, let me talk about the 700 lead a little bit. ETR owns part of the way around this curve. Oh yeah. That is our partner railroad coming from east to west. You know what? I'm going to go back up there and see if we can catch them coming around the corner. Hang on, I'll be right back. So we're continuing down the J lead, and we ran up to see Genesee and Wyoming go by. This curve is in good condition. The ties are good. The rail's nice. Much better than the halfway yard. That's where the bad ties are. Okay, as we round this corner here, we're probably not going to go all the way. We'll guesstimate. We'll call this 330 feet to the switch that goes into the pipe, P-I-P-E, pipe plant. And from 330, we'll go up to their Frog Point. Now this is where I might be on top of the rail. Let's see if that works. Whoop. $3.99. So this is a potential customer. Very happy about that. I'm gonna come down onto the bow so I can walk. Oh, but I gotta remember not to gyroscopically upset the world. I can tell nobody's been down through here for a while. Now, because I have another obligation today, we are going to finish right here on the 700 lead, make a guess, and you can see all the way. I'll zoom in. The building down there, which we have inquired about, has got 6 dock doors. If any of you would like to lease a building and have product unloaded, we'd be happy to help. So from this point on, the 541 feet, let's add 1,800 feet for the total length on the 700 lead. That's interesting. There's people out on that loading dock. I wish they were waiting for their cars to come in. It's the fork truck driver saying, "We're ready, bring it on up." That brown building is where the J lead used to go. Used to be right down in there. We'll be given no measurements on that because it's gone. Of course, the roadbed's still there. I wish they hadn't taken that out. Someday we'll talk to them about if we could have been of service or can be in the future. They were bulk unloading, so it's a heavy bulk product that would be ideal for rail. Last mile railroading with excellent services may be the solution to a greener, a more fuel efficient, energy efficient, people efficient way to bring material in. Okay, we're back at Canada number 1, and we're going to start right there at 000. Now, I do have a lot of respect for our friends from the north. The reason this is named Canada 1 is because that very large building right there is owned by a Canadian firm. So they do own the spur. And I've talked to them about our using it, and that's definitely on the table. That'll be a topic up and coming. Walked around the 550. Now we're headed down on Canada number 1. Now let me tell you a little bit about Canada number 1. This spur was used for propane cars. Back in the day when this plant was built, it had no natural gas pipeline to it. So for the processes which required a lot of heat, they unloaded propane right here. Which, by the way, I did talk to propane companies about that. We're just too big to a big metropolitan city to bring in propane. Natural gas is pretty much taken over, and for that reason I don't think that that's ever going to go anywhere. But there's something interesting down through here. Because these rails had to be grounded, there is a bond between the rail. So it's very important for unloading propane that the rails be bonded and grounded. This would make an ideal spot to unload something like aggregates, because this rail is elevated. We could put a drop pit right beneath it and a conveyor. Salt is something that gets unloaded that way, but there's some environmental issues with salt that we would have to be careful for. This, by the way, is where the ties are dreadful. The Canadian spurs have got terrible ties. And that's why, one of the reasons why we were able to buy the ETR, because when a track contractor would come in here and quote this, it was ferociously expensive. I mean, look, can you see that? They're terrible. And so The quotes, oops, let me give you the footage. The quotes would end up in the $250,000, 448. So Canada 1, 448 feet, right up to the bump post. Now I did want to show you, over here is where the propane tank sat in those saddles. It's gone now. It's gone. So I think we're going to take a little shortcut here. We're going to hop over to Canada 2, walk to the end, and then measure out to the switch point. I know some of you guys are adverse to change, and this is changing things for you, so pardon me, but I got somewhere else I got to be today, so we're just going to save a little time doing it this way. This does not have a bump post, and this went into the plant. Maybe someday will again. Man, that's some nice, man, is that heavy rail. Look at that. I'll see if I can see. I gotta get out of the sunshine. Okay, I'm gonna reset. I could not read that. That'll have to be another time. Here we go, starting Canada 2, walking out toward the main line. Ooh, that is bumpy. That's where we're going to get up on the rail. We'll try that. One of you guys suggested this. You know, we've talked about looking at different kinds of tracks. Back a little ways, I saw an interesting track. It looked like a drunk individual had been riding a unicycle. This is where Graham and I did some Paul Bunyan work that we're going to have to clean up. Okay, inside switch point for Canada number 2 is 410 feet. 410 feet. Resetting to 0. Okay, here we go. Canada 3. Canada 3. They look like rabbit tracks. Silly wabbit. Okay, our distance right here is 67. We're going to go on around on Canada 3. Now you're going to see some of the bakery curve because they have approximately the same radius, but right now we're not measuring the bakery curve. This is Canada 3. Appreciate you guys drawing all this out, because believe me, I can't hold this camera, walk on the ice, ride the unicycle, narrate, and write down dimensions. It's been really helpful to have you here. And the ratio of agility is measured in the fact that I've fallen twice and you guys haven't fallen at all yet. So good for you guys, young and spry. Man, I'd like to wear the rust off these. I think I'll have jaw tooth up to look at the before and after on the rust when we run a car in here. When will that be? I don't know. Will it be? I believe it will. Okay, so this line, Canada 3, also went into the plant and can run along beside that building. That's a dock door style unloading situation. They did put this bump post in, but it was added later because this rail went around the corner there. And our footage 405. So Canada 3, 405. Now, to save time, we're going to walk right over to the bakery curve. We'll reset and measure outbound. While we're here, some of you asked how 2021's doing. Well, I had an early week in January where it was in the 40s and 50s, and we made it around the bakery curve. That's the title of a video, and wanted to put it inside the bakery fence. Those arrangements were never made, so we parked it here by this tree, and we cocooned it, as in we had this in our building. It's an old, I'm embarrassed, it's an old swimming pool. So we covered the winter front with plywood and plastic, stretched that over it, pulled it down tight, and cinched it down. So that's where the 2021 is spent the winter. Okay, we are coming to the bakery. Now, we enjoy trackage rights here and look forward to serving them. We're not going to go through the fence today, but we're going to calculate that that's another 200 feet. Originally, there was envisioned the property that's beyond this would have rail service as well. That's possible for someday, but we got other goals before we get to that point. So we're going to reset. We're coming out now on the bakery lead. This is called the bakery lead. The curve, of course, is famous. Almost as famous as horseshoe curve. This is the bakery curve. $2021, oh man, almost went down. Whew. We'll see you in the spring. Hopefully with some orange paint, some improvements. Boy, you've got to really watch where that snow is flat and smooth. That's where the ice is underneath it. You're better off walking on the tie-ins, gravel or grass. Avoid flat snow. This, I think I'm okay. Yeah, see, I'll step on the leaves. The low spot with the flat snow where the water has collected is the bad spot. This is where Graham and I had to move 10 feet, cut limbs, 10 feet, cut limbs. Eventually we'll come back with a big saw and clear this out right, because we can't put cars down in here with trees that close. Okay, switch point, bakery lead, 516 feet. Okay, there's a view around the bakery curve. This is the halfway yard, Canada 1, 2, and 3. There's the Able Servant, the 550 with the Cummins, and a view up to Death Valley. So we're going to walk down to South Point. When you draw this, the shingle plant lead comes off a little bit to the west, and then it goes farther than South Point. The shingle plant lead starts out and then ends up on shingle plant property. So we don't own that all the way south or have trackage rights on it. We've talked to the shingle plant about storing cars there. So that'll be a development into the future. I don't think they were impressed with the money. You don't get rich storing cars unless you've got miles and miles. At the rate we'll be storing them, it'll be a contribution to overhead, but not a big money maker. How would you make big money on a very small railroad like this? I think if you could get a customer in one of these plants that used a lot of material, well, this is a nice day. I don't know the temperature. It was 19, maybe when I got here, 19 degrees Fahrenheit, which isn't bad. If you're walking, you can work up some body warmth and keep yourself warm. Okay, up there in the distance, you see it, our last measurement point. Then you guys will have your wish, your dream come true. A map with distances of the ETR. So we've reset for 0. I was going to say the bakery has got trucks over there waiting to unload, so they're bringing material in and out. I'd like to get a little bit involved in that. That'll be coming up. So our first dimension here is going to be the frog point. I bet somebody's going to straighten me out on nomenclature. That'll be fine. We're all here to learn. Okay, right to the point, 67 feet, which I think is a number you'll recognize. All of these were 67 or so. Okay, here we go. This building has got 3 dock doors. You know, there was a railroad, I believe in Texas. Maybe it stretched over the border going west. When they bought that, there was very little going on. Well, wouldn't you know, they found a mine that could produce frac sand. And now they do hundreds of cars. So how do you know one of these plants won't change hands, get a customer that needs to move a lot of cars? And of course we would help with that. We're going to start trying to get involved in the development of some business opportunities for people. I hope that's a dog, not a wolf. Well, there we are, people. We're as far south as we can go. We did talk to a big building supply place about extending this to meet their needs. And I'm not looking for a lot of open doors, just a couple. And that was one that's probably not open at this time. So we'll go on and look for others. Our distance right here, 459 feet for the shingle plant lead. Now let's do this. I reset to 0. We'll walk from the end of the shingle plant lead up to the south point, and that will tell us how far it extends beyond the south point. Got the kickstand down on the unicycle and it's catching and stuff. Okay, there we go. 103 feet. 103 feet. I'm going to be walking north here. I think I'm all talked out. Probably some of you were waiting for that. Shingle point lead switch stand. Awesome. Okay, we're back at the truck. You got the map. I bet some of you are got plans. Now you have the plans. Thank you all for being with me. Wouldn't say I'm cold, but it's kind of cold out here. I'm gonna sit down a minute, see if I can find a water that's not frozen. Thank you all. Well, I'm back to the truck, and if you did the map right, this is what it should look like. Well, not really, because this is one of the most amazing rail projects in recent memory. This is a combination of Canadian Pacific and the Kansas City, and this month the whole railroad industry really is saying congratulations to Keith Creel and Pat Ostensmeyer, and I echo that. The East Terminal Railway congratulates you on putting together an amazing railroad. It runs coast to coast in Canada, right down through the heartland of the U.S., and then both the Gulf and the coast in Mexico. An amazing accomplishment. And you know, I got to say, my hat's off to them, but they are railroaders. I am a railroader. They do things that I can't even comprehend and understand, but you know what? When I pull on my work clothes, pull on my work boots, I can do things they can't either. So, mutual respect, but a big congratulations from the East Terminal Railway and East Terminal Railway Nation. So that ends today's video, and I'm glad you were here. You know, if this video is popular, as I hope it'll be, because it answers a big question, like and subscribe. I don't mention that very often. One of you will be the 21,000th subscriber, and if I knew who it was, I would take you to Denny's, and we would both eat 2 Grand Slams.